anybody wants to see it.
Does everybody have it?
Yeah, no.
Oh, everyone take a look at the agenda.
You don't have the new one.
Nicely done. Thank you, Paul.
You approving the color? How about the content?
Yeah, content, well.
This content is not endorsed by Read the Mail.
Okay.
Well, no, that's what we're asking.
Sorry to hear that.
We're asking for your vote.
Yes, would you like it, well, mainly whether people want to amend the agenda, that's something totally.
But we do have new business.
unrelated. We do have
Yeah, it's the update.
business, which is.
And then old business, there's a lot of things that people want.
Yeah, that was just, it's
Okay.
several things that were.
Okay, I'm gonna ask for approval of the, everyone got the minutes? Please, everybody here.
Yes.
Do you need
I'll,
a pen?
No, we can't. All right.
Okay, so it's just a review.
I'll do that at the end of the meeting. Okay, the chair's report, everybody received that, correct?
Yeah.
Anyone have any comments? I do. That's part of my board report. This letter was, I think he says it in his report.
Yeah, we
We sent this letter to the board. The board had a executive session. And the chairman wanted to have an executive session on the contract with New Atlantic because there's some issues. I mean, I can't, I was in the meeting, but I can't tell you what happened in the executive session, but I can say, I can comment on my own and say what I think the situation is. I mean, and what also the chairman said in the newspapers about, it was sort of misinterpreted. So the renewal of the New York Atlantic Railroad lease agreement, or license agreement, I think it's a lease agreement. It has not been renewed. It's not been approved by the MTA. It will come to the board. One. Two, they made an option to renew back in 2014. They sent a letter. At that time, they were entitled to do that, and they could do that. The contract specifically states when they can ask for the renewal. Also, the requirements of it and safety issues were part of that. Subsequent to that, there's been some safety concerns I think we're all familiar with. One of them asked if there was an accident on the main line as well. I'd say those were the topics of the executive session, I can tell you that, and what the MTA should do. Tom has the support of the board as far as negotiating with New York and Atlantic a better situation, or even ultimately deciding to let it out for a new provider. That decision has not been made yet. But those options are open and they're being kept open, and that's as much as I can say about that. So, I mean, I know there's some issues we've had with them, with the New York Atlantic. Some people complain with graffiti on the equipment. Regarding that, I just want people to know that the freight cars are not owned by the New York Atlantic. I don't think they own any.
They own the hoppers. They own
the hoppers?
They own like 70 or 90 of the hoppers.
Okay.
They do own the uncut.
Well, then those
they can, yeah, those
they
deal
should
with.
they should deal with. But there's a lot of times there's box cars
There's
that
a-
have
the
graffiti
box-
on them, which came from someplace else.
Yeah, the box cars are usually the bad
Then
ones.
that's
with
usually
graffiti,
the-
and they don't own those.
So there's an issue with actually doing anything with that.
So the locomotives on yours?
Locomotives are all on railroad locomotives.
I know, but especially
And they're
we just
leasing
bought
them.
two brand new ones. Those
Yes,
new ones,
which belong to the state. They were what with state money.
Whatever, bought by a railroad.
Yeah, they belong to the state. Those locals will go with state money. So,
They gave us the money to, yeah, no, I know that.
do you remember anything else what I should report on?
Yeah, not a whole lot. I mean, I'll talk about that. We can't. There has been advice given not to talk about the derailment, but I'm prepared to say what the president said. I actually I watched his.
Oh, well, that was
again.
there was a statement
Yeah.
about what caused
Yeah.
the derailment. If anyone wants to see it, I mean, it was an issue with a switch. There was signal work was done at the same time, and there was an issue with the switch. The switch was not set correctly. The work train went over the switch and derailed, and then it was fouling the other line. So the other train came along, hit the derailed work train, pushing the derailed work train around and damaging the other two cars, throwing them off the tracks. So the issue has to become there's several issues here, but when they do the investigation, we'll see what happens and whether whether the signal work is being done properly, whether can you prevent something like that should be prevented. The switch should never be in a position like that. It was gonna
Well,
shock
I
me,
mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the apparently, and I think Pat said this, there was work being done. There was work being
Right.
done. It had been taken out of service, and apparently there were signal folks in the
Right.
the area as well, which may or may he would not commit whether that accounted for
Right.
for the movement, but at least there was an implication that when working on the signals, one might turn the switch point to a different position.
But at any rate, to me, let's see what happens. But I think when you see this, you talk about culture of safety, you would think, and what, at the end of the day when we see the investigation, a short investigation or whatever, it'll take a few months, what was done wrong, should there be a change in procedure, but also, were employees not paying proper attention to what they were supposed to be paying attention to, which often, but in experience with safety, you can see once you have that, it's usually not nice. It's not an isolated incident. It could be a cultural problem. It could be an isolated incident, but often it's not, and that's why That's why you learn from, or near misses, and there's a program people should be aware of. It's called the close call, and that's produced some. I haven't been reported to the board yet, but what was it, 9? I think changes. I forget. There's a thing that shows. I'll tell you how this works. But we've discussed this before. Employees can report when they think something's wrong, usually without ramification, and that gets investigated. There's a lot of close call reports now, and some of them are for the same. When you see something wrong, when you see something, say something is really what it is for the employees. When you see a safety problem, don't cover it up. You think there's something wrong, report it, and it could lead to a change in policy and improve safety. The idea is a more open thing, less penalizing people for an error or a mistake, and trying to learn from the mistakes that don't cause accidents. Because if you take into account all those close calls, you could probably prevent the one that will be an accident. If there's 10 close calls and they're all similar, probably means you're headed towards an accident in that area. So that's the idea of that. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, there's six actions
But
being
they haven't
developed here
told the
today.
board what they are.
Yeah.
And I remember asking that, and some other people asking. I got to remember next safety meeting. We want to know, what are these actions they're taking? It'd be interesting to see what was the result of that. The only about on-time performance, that's always our concern.
That was the third derailment that work train was involved in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
One
they-
6 months ago.
And he specifically said he did not think it was related to the work
Yeah.
train
Just
itself.
a coincidence?
Yeah.
It was just the same derailment, then it was the one by Woodside, and then it was.
It would have been-
a lot of work equipment, so we used to say work equipment in different areas.
It would have been difficult for this one to be the fault of the equipment. I mean, there's nothing on the equipment that
if the
would have
story-
prevented this.
If the story is true about the frog and the point being set
Yeah.
opposite, which seems strange, but it must be it's a movable frog, which I don't understand. Then I doubt it's the equipment.
From
Is the
pivots
crew
to,
operating it on all 3 incidents?
well, it could be, but they don't steer. I mean,
Well, looking at accident, you could look
I
at
don't
you could look
understand.
at that. You could look at those things and draw
Yeah.
conclusions.
That's what I'm saying.
You could, but if you do an investigation, you find out there was something else that caused it. Maybe they shouldn't have been moving the train at all. That wasn't said. I mean, none of that was said.
that's part of that's probably the investigation.
But getting back to on-time performance, because that's always a concern. For the last couple of months, the railroad's been meeting goal for most branches. The one branch that I've noticed, I think also Montauk, I'm not sure, was Port Washington. I don't know why. I didn't ask this month. I'm going to wait another month and see how it goes, because I think that's when you see one branch that's doing badly and every other branch is doing okay, you have to ask, what's the deal there?
What Jeff branched?
Well, Port Jeff is actually doing better than
I
it had.
haven't
This
seen
better
the
than it
email, so I'm
has.
assuming it must be.
Well, Huntington, Port Jeff.
It's done better than it has. It's not
Yeah.
not wonderful, but it's never going to be wonderful.
And I know there was an issue with, and I did raise it, in Long Island Railroad today, and they're right. The report for Long Island Railroad shows far too many delays attributed to I guess, the passengers,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
probably means crowding. And the reason, and same thing with the subway, by the way. And that's why the Disneyland Railroad Metro North is probably more crowding than anything else. The difference between the subway and the commuter railroads is it's crowded. But you know, unreasonable crowding is often caused, I suspect, is caused by even a small delay will cause crowding and problems at Jamaica at Penn Station, and you wind up with cascading delays, which could be attributed to crowding. The president said that he felt we have more special events. I don't know how much that really impacts our performance, but we'll see. But that's a matter of explanation.
Yeah, I think his point was more, it had to do with,
And whether things really improve or not is
it
really
had
what
to
we
do
should
with
be at.
sporting events. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
he brought up the Mets, basically the Mets game. We
Put
just-
the Knicks over here, or the,
Crowded.
or the Rangers.
You got Brooklyn also.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he's got.
yeah, we got
he does have
stadiums
a lot
above,
of- I mean, if you-
above two terminals.
Yeah, if you
That's
want to
true.
take a train to something other than the Yankees that plays in New York, you take the LIRR.
And the Mets game, I think it's only 8-car platforms, you have 10-car trains,
Yeah.
so that every time you pull in for a game.
Oh, you got the people.
So that slows those trains
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
'Cause it's
Was the renovation of that station change that?
No, the reservation hasn't started.
Yes, Larry.
I know, but would it change
Hey,
that?
Larry.
Larry?
Yeah, can I say something into that? I've seen a bunch of late night games or events at the Garden. When the sporting events where
Yeah.
they're letting out, they're 12-car train and they've got the last 2 cars closed off. And I sit
Oh.
with that 'cause that's usually where I park my car on the west-hand side. And there's no reason for those cars to be closed off. And
This-
I
this
sit-
is Babylon trains.
And I go, "We're not repaired."
So Larry, you're talking about Babylon trains at least.
Yep.
Those are usually,
Well, these are
Ronkonkoma
already-
Babylon trains are the crowded ones.
It depends on the.
Right, but they're
crew
not
that
even-
might have those.
At late night trains, and we're going to like 11:30 at night, they're not opening up all the cars at Penn Station, even after an event's let out, and the cars are totally jammed.
And there's 2 empty cars. They're dragging around 2 empty cars after an event. Someone should
That's
talk.
correct.
Someone has to talk to the crews when there's an
Or-
event.
They might
I mean,
not have
it-
enough crew.
Well, I'm saying they're watching so wide.
The crew schedule could be off. No, they.
Oh, they don't put extra- so
They
they-
can't just close a car on their own accord. Conductor can't just close a car.
So they don't have enough conductors.
well, okay. The plan may be to have the cars closed off
Right.
regularly, but when there's an event, they shouldn't be closed off.
That's not the conductor,
Right,
that's.
it's not the conductor, but the conductor is.
Well, someone's got to talk to the crews and say, look,
It's not the crew,
there's an event.
It's above them. It's
Well,
above
who's
the crews.
who closes off the car?
The conductor.
That's
They
someone
tell-
has to tell the conductor what's going on.
But that won't do you any good, because they can't do anything. You gotta go to management.
The management will tell the conductors what. That's right.
Right, so
Yeah.
complaining to the conductor isn't
Well, there's
So we don't complain to conductors.
good. You just said, speak to the conductor.
No, I said we have to get the railroad to tell the crews
They actually
what
are
to do.
supposed to open up the cars, even though the
When they
plan
have crowd,
is.
they're supposed to use their
Yeah,
own
they're
judgment.
they're supposed to open cars if there's no seats. Basically, I mean, that's what we've been told. Is that they are actually, even if the plan is to keep them closed, it's just, you accommodate the passengers.
Well, let's inform the railroad of that. That he's seen that. I don't know if it's not any of the branch, at least the Babylon. So that'll make that, that'll cause a worse delay.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it for the board report. Let's see anyone has a question. Oh, the staff report.
We haven't had a short month, so we haven't gotten anything in terms of comments from the public. One of the things we've been doing is we've been trying to work with MTA on their public engagement, and they're basically, I think, the public engagement will be decided when the governor tells them what it is. We have basically had a couple of meetings scheduled and have been blown off a couple of times, and finally they basically responded to us that they don't know what they're doing yet. So I think it's, but we're still, we're working on that. We were looking at that. We had talked about that in exec, and we're working on an alternate plan to talk about public engagement at the December PCAC if we do. So we're hoping to do it with or without the MPA. We're hoping with the MPA, of course, they don't, they're, at least it's rumored that they don't want to say anything about the fair hearings
Right.
until after the election, so that hasn't gotten any.
Well, that's less than a week
play yet.
away, so
Yeah, so it should be out supposedly after that.
Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday. So that's that. Yeah, that's where we are.
Any news on a meet the council in Brooklyn?
Meet the council in Brooklyn.
That happened already. You missed it?
Yeah, three of them.
Nah,
When did that happen?
we'll set it. Yeah.
No, he's
You missed it.
joking. This been a week.
No, I think this is. I think we've sort of not wanted to be with all the election stuff going on. We've sort of not wanted to do it right now. Probably in the new year. I mean, really, realistically.
Oh, Bernie, everybody will come.
Who else is on the phone? I heard Larry. Larry?
Yep, I'm here.
Anybody else?
Yep, I'm here. I'm on the.
That's one person, Larry. Don't try to. Okay. That's, okay.
Even
So,
if you answer twice.
I'm just trying to count. Although on the phone, I don't think it counts as a phone.
Brian's on the phone.
Brian's on the phone. Okay.
Brian's on the
Brian,
phone.
okay.
Hi, Brian.
Let me just.
I've been on since the beginning. How are you?
It would be good if you spoke up.
The telephone call.
You just want to listen.
You did a tour of Hicksville.
You've been outed.
Every time I spoke, no one responded, so I wasn't sure.
We weren't. We weren't
We
hearing you.
We weren't hearing you. Owen, you're not there, are you?
The next thing is the communication working group.
Okay, Larry, do you have anything to share about communication?
There's nothing new right now. I have honestly just been too busy with this election crap all on. So we can get going once all this nonsense is over with, hopefully
Yeah.
next week.
Oh, I'd asked for a report on that, but it has no relevance to us, so let's just move on.
Oh, I want to say something, for Washington, the overpass. I saw one this weekend.
Okay, that was actually, we put that on the agenda a day or so.
Oh, that was in the report.
Handed to you, but that's, yeah.
Oh, but yeah, it's on the agenda.
Yeah, if you want to, is there
any member reports?
Do you have it on?
Brian went to the Hicksville. Wait, hold on a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's go through the agenda. We'll get to that. It is on the agenda. But member reports. Brian attended the Hicksville. He didn't attend. He went to a station walkthrough. You want to tell us about that, Brian?
Sure. It was on Tuesday of this week. I met with Chris Hobart, who's the senior project manager for the Hicksville Station project. We basically just did a tour of the station, walked the tracks, walked the right-of-way, different areas around there. A lot of discussion about what the impact is to riders now and what the impact will be to riders in the future. A lot of it was covered, I think it was 2 meetings ago when we had the renderings or the most updated renderings handed out. So I'd asked for the walkthrough just because physically we haven't really been seeing anything, but actually last week and this week a lot of work has started to take place. So on the south platform, all the way in the west end, they started to break up the floor there. They're doing it in, I think it was 50-foot sections. So they're jackhammering that, breaking it all apart. There's really no impact to riders or anyone at this point because of it fitting 12 cars, but really only 10 cars pull up. The area where they're working now hasn't been affected by people, boarding
It's like a
or
14-car
getting off
platform.
the
It's
train.
bigger than it's
Once they're done with that 50-foot section, then they're going to go to the next 50-foot section and continue that work. Right now, because it's not affecting any commuters, it's happening throughout the day, night, and weekends. Once it reaches the section where it will affect the commuters boarding and getting off, the work will only happen on weekends. And then during the week, there'll be some temporary heavy gauge steel that'll be laid down. So rather than walking on concrete, they'll walk on this steel. So again, during the week, there will be no impact on where commuters need to load, where they get off, the staircases or anything like that. So that's all the south end, or I'm sorry, the south side platform. The north side platform is going to be all next summer, so from Memorial Day to Labor Day, the entire platform will be closed, and they'll only go to the southern platform, and that's where there'll be some changes to schedules, because they'll be only operating on 2 tracks versus the 3 tracks. So that's the platforms and the track working. We also spoke about parking and how that's being affected. As you guys know, I commute out of there, so there's been no effect on parking spots thus far. The areas that they took were in the right-of-way or just unused areas. There's a water tower over there, a water filtration area. So they've done a lot of their work over there. So no pathways, no parking has been affected.
And they're only gonna affect parking during
When they
weekends.
do that,
Sorry, Brian.
So even the employees, so I brought up, well, what about the workers that are doing this work? Are they taking up spots randomly in the parking lot? And they're not. They're parking like on the lawn or on the right-of-way, so they're not even taking up, because there's about 30 workers there, so that's 30 cars, less spots that could be for commuters. But I saw all the cars, they're parking like in grass areas and, not obstructing pathways or walkways. So happy to hear that. When they do the weekend work, they will have cranes in the, if anyone's familiar with the entryway, so there's a southern road over by the Dunkin' Donuts there. That is going to need to be closed off, so they can park cranes over there and, lift supplies up and take the demo work down. But again, no parking that's going to be affected. It's just going to be the area where normally people get dropped off. If somebody was dropping them off or a taxi cab, they're just going to have to get dropped off in other sections of the platform or other sections of the parking lot. So then we walked, we didn't have new renderings, but he did tell me there's newer ones there. So Hector, I don't know if you were at the meeting there, if you could get us copies of the new renderings, he was saying, and everything's going to be this vibrant blue color that the governor is now asking the station to have this color rather than drab concrete. It's going to be this painted or dyed concrete, this blue color. So every pillar, canopy, support beam, everything is going to be this blue color. So not only are we going to be inundated with blue inside the M9 cars, it's going to be all over the station here too. So everything else was just really in line with those most recent renderings that we've seen, with the canopy awnings, the additional elevators being added. So nothing new with changes to the renderings except for the color of everything. I did also ask him, so right now I believe there's 4 signs on each platform indicating, next train and delays and stuff. So with the new platforms, those are going to be upgraded, obviously replaced, and they're going to 6 signs instead. But one thing that I called out is across the 3 tracks, the signs all line up. Why aren't they staggered? So even if I'm standing on track, 1, or on the platform by track 1, the signs for track 1, 2, and 3 all line up across each other. Why don't they stagger them and put a sign, a digital sign, every 50 feet instead? Because right now they're really not aligned with where the staircases or elevators are. If you walk up the staircase and look west or look east, you got to look like 75 feet in either direction to read one of those digital signs. So why don't they stagger them or make them align with where the staircases are and the elevators are, because that's where people are going to look for signage. So he took down that note and was going to see if they can make adjustments to it. And then also there was discussion about fire suppression inside the waiting rooms, because right now none exists. There's not a fire extinguisher. There's not even a fire sprinkler system. So if there was a fire in there or people were loitering in there, unless somebody called 911, no one would know that there's a fire in there. So he was going to look into seeing if there was any plans. There wasn't any that he was aware of off the top of his head, but what type of fire suppression is going to be put into those waiting rooms. But he also welcomed us to go back. So if we want to check in like 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, he and I walked through, the 2 of us, is like an hour and a half, but he could make it as long or as short as we want. So, as the work continues and, things progress, I would encourage more people to, join and see what the work looks like.
And he works out of his field offices right in Hicksville, so he's very flexible. You see the 1 or 2 notice and make sure he's not out of the office that day. but it's scheduled for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, he did say the earlier the better, so it worked out for me. I did the walkthrough and then jumped on the train and headed to work, so, you know, but he is flexible. I mean, if it wants to be late morning or afternoon, he'll do what we want, as long as he has,
Why
you know, a few days
don't we
notice
put
or-
his, if someone, put his name and contact information in the minutes, and then assuming
Or
that.
just, if the day somebody just reach out to me and I'll give you
All right.
You know, send me an email if you know
Okay.
when you wanna go or
Okay.
the dates, and then I'll put you in touch with him and you guys finalize.
We'll talk about that blue thing later.
Uh,
Anybody else have a
That may
report?
not be negotiable. Everything's.
Sir, can you get us those renderings? Because
Yeah, it's on the,
I just want to see the update.
there's a link where the press release where the governor announced, the work, and then, yeah, I'll send it over.
Something else.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have a report?
I'm gonna. I'd sure like to meet, when are we gonna meet?
Okay. Then now we're gonna have a presentation.
I don't have anything other than the name, but you can now, you can introduce him.
Yes, Thomas McHugh. They're gonna brief us on the resiliency project, right?
Well, actually, it's restoration with integrated resiliency. There's a difference.
Restoration with integrated resiliency. Oh, okay, this is different, yes. I think I
There is a little-
describe
there
what
is a
you
little
mean, but I
difference.
think I know.
Well, as we go through the projects, this is not really be a presentation, be a discussion. I'm going to go
Yes.
through the projects. I think a lot of you are probably aware, if you had other updates before, you're familiar with any of the work being done? Is that yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes, we
Okay.
did, but
Yeah.
I think they were different projects then, okay.
So I'm going to go through roughly 7 projects.
Okay.
All right? So we'll start off on a Long Beach bridge. So storm came in, water inundated the area, impacted 3 of our substations. They are Oceanside, Oil City, and Long Beach.
I just got out of staff meeting.
Who's that?
Oh, Owen?
It's Owen.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and hi, okay.
We just started with our guest who's talking about restoration with integrated resiliency projects, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Owen, for joining us.
So there was 3 different substations that were impacted. Right? Oceanside, Oil City, and Long Beach. Long Beach is in Long Beach Yard. Okay, Oceanside is online. It's been online for quite a while now. It's up and running. Oil City is complete. They're running through their testing right now. Long Beach will be completed at the end of this year. And it's going to go through its testing. Excuse me, end of next year, not the end of this year.
These substations are all raised now, so don't get from.
So now we're talking about integrated resiliency. That's where you have to raise these things. Anything that we have there, or anything that's, we did a flood study. And so the further you go east, railroad east, let's say that. Further you go railroad
South or
east,
north, northwest, south.
yeah, it's really going north, but it's railroad east. The further you go in that direction, you're closer to the water.
Towards Long Beach.
Right, towards Long Beach. So obviously it's gonna be higher. So what we're raising these things, ABFE plus 4, it's above flood elevation, plus 4 feet. So these things are raised in the air. So that's when you talk about resiliency. That's where we're at. So when we're looking at this work, there's really 3 factors you look at. Can you relocate the asset? Right, we can't relocate the substation. Can you raise it? In this case, yes, we can raise it. If you can't do any of those first 2, then you're looking to protect it. And that's kind of the premise, the way you working through. And that's how we've done it with all the assets around. So we're 80% complete with Long Beach. So with the substation portion of Long Beach work. You guys have any questions on substations?
Do you have, I know Metro North has had issues where they've really sort of run out of space to do some of this work. Have you run into any of those cases?
No, we were fortunate. We were fortunate. We had room.
Yeah.
So it was it took some, there's a lot of work involved with that. You have to do all your you know, surveys, make sure there's nothing in the ground, or what's in the ground can be located. But, you know, everything was done. It's really actually of all the, being at a lot of the Sandy meetings, this particular project itself is well ahead of a lot of others between Metro North and Transit. So
The power to the substation, how does that's above ground? And is
so
that-
you're taking from LIPA,
Yeah, the LIPA power.
right? You're bringing that down. So
Right.
you're taking AC.
Right,
Bring
no,
it
no,
in.
no, I know how the substation works, what I'm saying is,
Right, sorry.
that, what's LIPA doing to harden their system of supply to our substations?
Oh, I don't know what LIPA's doing to harden their system. I couldn't answer that.
Right. But the idea of this is not to keep service running, the idea of this is so that it's not damaged, so that after the flood recedes, we can run service as quickly as possible.
Without question. I mean, if a storm's coming in, we're moving our equipment away, you know,
Right.
to high ground. You know, it's the basic premise of what we've been following for the last
Mhm.
many years.
Right, and the idea would be, okay, we'll move on. Just more Long Beach projects you're gonna go
There's
over?
more Long
Yes,
Beach
okay.
project, but that's it with the
I got a
substation.
question. Unless I misunderstood you. You said two of the substations are not on?
No.
Wait.
I think that was
Oh,
Larry. Larry, you have a question?
Yeah, no, this is Lauren. I just have a question. As you're redoing these substations, are you upgrading their capabilities, or are you just basically extending cables and things of that nature, using the old equipment over again?
No. It's brand new substations. It's brand new construction. So the modular units.
You're not reusing the old stuff, everything is new?
No. All brand new.
Because we had to replace the cables and everything, some of the equipment after Sandy, to get them operational again, but now it's gonna be brand new fully.
Yeah.
So you're utilizing the old substation?
No, currently we are utilizing.
That's
but-
what I-
but it'll be a-
that's what I misunderstood
It'll be
you,
a new,
okay.
it'll be replaced with a.
No, I know, I understand, but I didn't understand.
Currently, we're using everything.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it's all new foundations, it's a whole new, the different. Okay?
He just said thank you.
Okay. Okay, so the next project, the title of it's Long Beach Bridge Systems Restoration. Primarily, it's a combination of a signal project and a upgrade of our third rail equipment. So the entire line was underwater. So we had a lot of the cases were underwater. A lot of stuff was rewired, but a lot of the cases themselves were rewired. But all your infrastructure underground, that was all destroyed. So, well, put it this way: it was saltwater inundated. So you really don't know how long it's going to take before it actually gives way. So really, the only thing you can do is replace the signal system. We're band-aiding the one that's there right now and putting another one in at the same time. So, what's involved with that? So just to touch on a couple of different items. Each location, you guys know what signal huts are, right? Huts at the crossings, huts at different parts of the there's one interlocking, but we have a total of 15 huts.